Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
Welcome back, everyone. Now to the Chevy Silverado Tech Tip of the Week. The question came up yesterday after we had Phil Perrone and Jason Hambley in from Procure. We briefly talked about different bait that you can make up with tuna for your stuffer baits. Question came up about these little tiny kokanee-sized baits for Fall Chinook, which, by the way, are very popular. It's nothing new. I'm not breaking any new ground here, but for those that were asking the questions, why, number one, and how to rig them up so where you can actually land a 25, hopefully 35-pound Chinook with these little tiny baits that were made for kokanee, right? So first things first, let's get a shot with that Kershaw Tech Cam, and I'm gonna show you just the difference in size of what I'm referring to, okay? You've got the original size super bait here, and then you have now the Skinny Mini, which is right next to it. So maybe a little bit more than half the size of the original. So very, very small in comparison, right? And then talk about the cut plug from Yakima Bait. They've got two different sizes, right? You've got the full size and then the smaller version, the mini version. And you can see there's a pretty significant difference in size between those as well. Now, I'm also going to show you another one. You're going to have your spinning fish. This is the 2.0, absolutely designed for kokanee. Here's the one that is a little bit more common. That's a 2.5, very, very common for spring Chinook, fall Chinook as well. And then, of course, there's the 3.0, which is this guy right here. You can see this is probably the most common size of spinning fish that's used behind a 360 compared to that kokanee size, right? So, or the 2.0. So there's a reason why salmon love these things, especially in the fall. And here's one that I brought in last year that I actually caught a fish on and then brought it right in to show everybody. That's the 2.5 with a hoochie on the back, which is a very, very popular combo just because it does add a little bit larger profile with that smaller bait in front of it, the smaller spinning fish. So number one, why do fall Chinook like these little tiny baits? Well, think about the 3.5 spinner that we use behind a 360. By far, the reason why those were developed was for fall Chinook. All of this 360 stuff that we're using now that's changed so much of how we chase salmon around, Chinook in particular, and silvers and sockeye, I mean, pretty much everything, all started on the east side of Washington with the original super bait. Now, there was some variants there, but 99% of the guides that were over there that really came up with this technique, this style of fishing with these 360s, was all about the original super bait. I mean, it was a game changer and was for a very long time over there before it was ever done down here, in particular below Bonneville Dam. Now, since then, spinners became very, very popular. Smaller baits themselves became very popular. The reason why those 3.5 spinner blades were so popular is because they were small and they would work behind a 360. It wouldn't flatten the rotation out, right? So very, very important. Profile is very similar when you're talking about these small little baits, okay? So they just love them in that warm water temperature. It's a little bit different look. They're very erratic when they're bouncing around back behind the 360. And the full-size Chinook, 25, 35, 40-plus pounders, will eat these things behind a 360. It's very well proven. But you can't fish them right out of the package. And what I'm referring to, this one in particular, or I keep saying in particular, trust me, I'm not intelligent. I don't know why I'm using the big word. This one, you know, for good reason. This is the 2.0. This is the little one. This is designed specifically for kokanee, right? It's just a spinning fish shrunk, right? Well, it comes with these little tiny hooks, little size 4 hooks. It's rigged right from the factory with, I believe this is 20 pound. It kind of feels more like a 15 pound. And you're just simply not going to want to hook a full-size Chinook on these little tiny hooks. So what do you need to do? Okay, first thing I'm going to mention is leader size. These little baits, if you try to run 30, 40-pound leader, which is not the wrong size to use for fall Chinook, but you got to kind of scale things down a little bit for these smaller baits. And I'll even try to remember to give you a little bit of a tip there on how you can alter these stuffer baits if you want to get a larger diameter leader through there is, well, number one, you're going to want to increase the size of the leader, right? With the 2.0 or the mini kokanee cut plug, or even the small cut plug from Yakima Bait, 20 pound, that's going to seem awfully light for a Fall Chinook. And to be quite honest with you, it is. If you were to use 20 pound, I like using 20 pound. I don't mind using a 20 pound fluoro at all. You just have to understand how to fight the fish correctly so you're not going to just snap it off. And a lot of times that's not necessarily because of the weight of the fish, it's because of their choppers will get there and cut that leader. So anytime that you can run a 25 pound and get these to work correctly, that's what I would recommend. But again, if I'm fishing these, I'm running a 20 pound with that little bait because it does give it a little bit more of ability to bounce around and be more erratic behind the 360 flasher, especially the Evolution. Because this thing has a tendency to really kick those baits around, especially if you start playing with the different holes that are up here. I mean, you can really define what it is that you want to see out of your baits with this particular flasher, hence the reason why it's becoming so popular. But, so first things first, 2-aught hooks. Now I'm going to use 2-aughts for the 2.0 spinning fish. I'm going to use that for the kokanee cut plug, and I'm going to use that probably a 3-aught or a 2-aught or a combination of the two for the small cut plug from Yakima Bait. Once you do that, like what I have here, this is 2-aughts. Again, that's what I'm going to be running behind the kokanee cut plug. You got to make sure that your beads and everything are correct for that. And with the spinning fish, it's a little bit easier because there's not a whole lot of beads that you have to mess with. I will increase the size of bead that I'll use behind that. So simply all you do is you just take that 2.0, and I'm going to recommend that you invest in a few of these, okay, for Fall Chinook. Because once you get yourself kind of dialed in, you're going to start understanding why these fish like them, and you're going to start seeing some bites on them. And all you're really going to do here is just re-rig that with the 2-aughts. These are Brad's 2-aughts, which last year I had a chance to, or even during spring Chinook season, test these things out. They are a significant upgrade from their older version of the Brad's hooks. But again, 2-aught hooks, rigged similarly, I mean, I shouldn't even say it that way, relatively close to each other, just of 1 finger gap, and then the single bead, change that up from that little 4 millimeter to a 6 mil. And you can see that this is just a nice, compact bait that the Fall Chinook absolutely love. Now, before I get too far, another little recommendation that I'll give you here, when you're talking about any of these here, oh, and I'll show you this one here. This is the cut plug from Yakima. This is the new one. Lots of talk about that for a reason. It's extremely effective. But those are 2 3-aughts. Now, it's just because that bait's a little bit bigger, and based on the way it's designed and how you rig it with those little tiny beads, you have enough room to really present those 2 3-aughts, and it just doesn't really look too weird, at least to my eyes, right? It's more important what the fish think than what you think, but I don't want to have too small hooks, and I don't want to have too big a hook either. But that's exactly how you're going to want to have that set up. Keep this in mind, though. With these little baits, you can absolutely overpack them, all right? You can absolutely put too much tuna in these stuffer baits. Don't do that. If you're going to put a bunch of tuna in there, all it's going to do is just weigh down the action, and you're going to see a difference on how it actually kicks, how it spins. You'll probably still get bit, but you'll have better odds of getting bit if those baits are spinning around with nothing slowing them down, like too much bait on the inside. I mean, think about how small. Let's just take a quick, I know I got to cut to a break, Ryan, but just look how small this kokanee cut plug is. Take that and just, I don't even know, just throw that away. They're very, very small. So if you just start packing too much tuna in there, it will kill the rotation. Again, it'll still work, but it's certainly better just to be on that light side of tuna. In particular, why do I keep saying that? Ryan, give me a different word. I'm getting tired of saying the same one. If you're going to run these cut plugs, I like running these things to where the bait is just coming out, where you can see it when you put it in the water, little bits of tuna coming out of there. Because in the end, it's going to get a little bit lighter as you're fishing, and it does disperse a little bit more scent in the water column. And even once all the tuna runs out of one of these baits, it still has got great scent to it. But you always want to check and refill. Again, not too much with these small baits to be more effective. Same thing goes for the Skinny Mini as well. Don't overstuff it. All right, I got a couple of questions that are coming back. Oh, we got Mac! We're going to take that right when we come back from this break. Don't go anywhere.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective. And by North American Metals Incorporated, first choice for all your metal roofing and siding needs.